Good day, everyone, and welcome to Different Stages Radio. I'm your host, JJ, broadcasting in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And on today's show, you may know my guest from fronting such bands as Paralandra and the L.I.F E Project. And most recently, she did a wonderful collaboration with George Lynch under the name Cassandra's Crossing, which released their album just this past October on Frontiers Music. Please welcome my guest, Casandra Carson. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for making the time. You just did some dates recently, which we can get to all of the Paralandra and goings on, but I need to make this all about me to get started here. So I'm brand spanking new to you. And fortunately, thanks to George Lynch, who I'm a massive fan of and have been for years, when I saw that he was doing a record with a person by the name of Casandra Carson, I'm immediately going, who is this? How do I not know who this person is? So as the tracks were being teased on the way to the album coming out, and I, of course, would spin shows weekly on the radio show version of this broadcast. And each time I'm like, man, well, right away I'm thinking, okay, George isn't going to do something half-assed with anybody. If he's doing something with somebody, that person has to be pretty wicked. So the tracks I'm hearing at first, I'm like, these are pretty kick-ass, enough that it's like, no, I need to get the album. Like, it's crucial to have physical product.
Love it. Nice.
Product is key. So I'm like, okay, I got to get this record. And I've just been floored immediately. So then I have to do more research on who is this Casandra Carson person. So once again, I'm new to the program. There's people that are probably watching this going, how did you not know? And I'm not ashamed to say I did not know. But as I'm going back and finding out, oh, Paralandra, the L.I.F E Project, this is all brand new to me, and I'm blown away. So I want to say this is awesome. Do you mind starting with and going perhaps backwards? How did this whole thing get together with George?
Well, first off, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But it all kind of started just very serendipitously. I met George for the first time back in 2019. My boyfriend and I went to a George Lynch and the Electric Freedom show in Colorado Springs. And basically one thing led to another. He had an off night with his band Tantric, and they happened to know the venue owners. So they kind of like snuck us into the VIP line, like at the very back. And so we were able to meet him. And as we were all talking, the guys were like, by the way, if you need somebody to sing Street Fighting Man, Cassandra's your girl. And because we had been like kind of messing around with it at their sound checks. And he was like, oh, well, actually, if that's true, like that would probably work out great tonight because we have a fill-in singer and I don't think he knows all the lyrics yet. And so I was like, oh, well, I mean, if you're actually being serious, like I do know the song. So anyway, one thing led to another. I ended up getting up there that night and singing Street Fighting Man. And from there, like, George had never heard of me or my voice, so he just like let this total stranger, based on a few other strangers' word, allowed me to come on stage, and really loved my voice. And I ended up staying in touch, like with Jimmy Deanda, the drummer. And then like years later, Jaron, my boyfriend, actually ends up getting the gig as Lynch Mob's bass player. And so last October, I went to one of their shows just to like support Jaron. And George saw me and he asked again, are we going to have you up on Street Fighting Man tonight? And I was like, if you want, I still know it. So got back up there that night, sang Street Fighting Man with him again. And it was even better than the first time. And we had a blast. And after the show, I was driving George back to the hotel. And we were just talking about how much fun it was. And he really enjoyed having me on stage and was very complimentary of my voice and like my energy and stuff. And I was like, well, next time we should do some Dirty Shirley. Like, that'd be really cool. And he was like, you know Dirty Shirley? What? And I'm like, yes, I love Dino Jalusic. Like, he's my favorite singer. And anyway, George said that he was going into the studio the next week to record the second Dirty Shirley record, but they didn't have a singer for it. It wasn't going to be Dino on this record. So they were actively looking for someone to sing. And he just flat out offered it to me and was like, would you want to sing on the second Dirty Shirley record? Because you would be perfect. Like, do you think you could write bluesy rock songs? And I was like, yeah, I think I could. And I don't know. Anyway, just like one thing led to another. I want to say like 2 weeks later, I had a full folder of songs, 12 songs that were all written. All I had to do was write the lyrics and the melodies on top of it. So yeah, 4 months later, I ended up writing and finally recording all of those songs and had the record.
What a whirlwind, though. That's insane.
Yeah,
And speaking of that,
totally just right place, right time.
no doubt,
Like,
no doubt. But speaking of that original Street Fighting Man, I did find the video footage of that on YouTube, and it's just crushing. So people search that out. We'll throw up some links for people to check that out because it's just so honest and pure. And you can see George's smirk where he's looking down, but you can see he has that smirk. It's awesome. It's like he's feeling it. He's doing like the turn over to you a few times, going, "What's going on here? What is this?"
uh-huh. It's pretty satisfying to rewatch. I'm not gonna lie.
No, no doubt, no doubt. So, and Jordan Canada's on the record too. So how did that come together? Jordan
Yeah,
Canada,
so
drummer from
Frontiers,
Slaughter.
yeah, Frontiers pulled him in as well as Alessandro Del Vecchio,
Yeah.
which I had never heard of either of them. Sorry guys, but
No,
after learning about them and looking into their catalog, their history, I was like, whoa, like these are some serious cats. Like these are the real deal. And I actually never got to hear the final bass or the final drums until I went into the studio to record my final vocals. So that the whole time I had been working with these songs, it was to this very basic, like, you know, like type of drum beat, like very bare bones. And so once I got into the studio and had Jordan's drums and had Alessandro's bass, I was hearing these songs for the first time, like really come to life. And it was crazy. Like they both added so much to this record. It's insane.
and on top of that, I'll mention too Dennis Ward on production. I'm a huge Dennis fan. Dennis is awesome. I've always been a big Pink Cream fan, which I don't think he's a part of anymore. He's become more of a producer. He's done a number of things for Frontiers, and he's also done some awesome vocals with Gus G. I'm going to give some Dennis Ward praise there. Did you have a chance to talk to or collaborate at all with him?
Not really. It was mainly just the back and forth about getting the mixes to the right place.
Okay.
So that's like the most communication I did with him, but I didn't even know he had like all that history. I should have looked more into it.
Oh, killer bass player, killer vocalist too. Check out Dennis Ward.
All right.
He's an awesome dude. Now, is there a chance that you might possibly do a show or shows as Cassandra's Crossing? Or maybe when you, with Paralandra doing some, we'll get to that too, doing some dates with Lynch Mob, maybe you might do a song or two?
I'm really hoping so. I've got my fingers crossed. There's no like Cassandra's Crossing show in the books, but I have brought it up. I would love to do it. It really just depends on everybody's schedules. So if it's able to happen, I'm going to try.
Okay, because I do see that here's some pressure. Even though I probably could make it anyways, but Frontiers are doing they do a festival in the spring, which they've announced so far with like Winger and Harem Scarum and tons of bands. So maybe Frontiers, if you're watching this video, that maybe you can fly over Cassandra and George, and maybe they can do a one-off show if they can squeeze it into their schedules.
No, baby, about it. Do it. Listen to me. Sherfino, Aldo, hey.
We want to go to Italy. Get her done.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, so as I backtrack and then, still processing, once again, go buy it, get a physical product, whole album is killer. Now I backtrack and find Paralandra, which you've been around for a long time, and then reading how that came together. So for people that are watching this video that perhaps are some that are like, who are you? I've never heard of you before. Do you mind going through the backstory of how that all came together?
Yeah, so Paralandra is something that my dad and I started back in 2013. So I was like around 20 years old, I guess. And before that, I had joined not School of Rock, but we had a local music store called Halen Music Center that my dad and I worked at. That had Musicians University. And that was where I went to join my first band. My dad was the coach of that band. And so I kind of got my feet wet doing that as far as being in my own band sort of thing. And through that process, I was kind of like writing my own songs and like back at home, like even as early as like being 14 years old, I would like show my dad little songs that I was writing. And at that time, I refused to sing in front of anybody. So like I would bring him into my room and like close all the doors and shut the lights off and be like, okay, just let me know if this is stupid or not. Just like go for it. But little by little throughout the years, we started collaborating. So after I joined that band and he was coaching it, we kind of came up with the idea of like, why don't we just try to do some of these songs we've been writing live? Like that would be kind of cool. So we just kind of booked like a one-off show at our local communities, like 4th of July event, and wrote a few songs that were like 4th of July inspired, like Independence Day and Light Up the Sky and, you know, just like fun stuff. And we had a great reception. It went really well. Got a lot of really good feedback. In fact, like the local newspaper came up and wanted to write an article about us. We're like, okay, like this is pretty cool. So what if we did it again? And so we booked another show. And at that one, we decided to put out a piece of paper and we said, if anybody's interested in our original music, or if you would like to listen to a CD or something, write down your name and like your email are a good way for us to get a hold of you if we decide to do something like that. And by the end of the show, we had like the whole front and back, maybe even multiple pages, like totally full with all these people. And so we were kind of like, well, now we've kind of got to record. So it seems like there's some interest here. So yeah, really after that, it was just like one baby step after the next. Let's record some songs, let's release it, you know, and keep booking shows. And like, here we are 11 and a half years later, we're still going, still taking on the next thing, still writing songs. And everything just seems to like the trajectory just keeps going upward. And opportunities keep getting better. And yeah, it's just like, why would we stop? This is so great.
Well, and it seems the collaboration with you and your dad is priceless, because at first I'm like, this is awesome. It's your dad, but the vibe that you guys have, and it just seems the way that you work together, and in him as a guitar player, the guy crushes. Like watching some of the covers you guys have done, and that's on a bit of a different topic too, because there's so many bands that do so many covers, and half the time it's like, eh. But then there's those that understand it. It's not just singing it or playing the guitar; it's understanding the song. And watching you and your dad doing the Whitesnake and the Queensrÿche, I'm like, what's going on here? Like, this is kind of silly. Like, I'm like, what is going on? Well, how did I? So now it's all this pressure to catch up. Like I'm watching and listening to all this stuff.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, your dad is brilliant. So is
Thank you. I
yeah,
agree. He needs to hear that more often. He's way too
yeah.
humble.
Yeah, no, but not, but also the presence too. And is that where maybe a bit of your vibe comes from, or do you guys feel off of each other when I'm watching like some of this live footage? Because you guys definitely have this presence.
Yeah, like so my dad's always been in bands my whole life and he's always been a performer. And like he would have kind of like his cover bands or original bands that would play out and I would always hear them like at band practice, but he also played at church and he was a little more reserved as far as like going a little all crazy at church, but still like shredding and still playing like very moving music. And so I've always just like looked up to him as a performer and as a musician and just like thought that is like the epitome. And that's what I want to be like. And that's what I want to do. And that's another reason why I wouldn't sing in front of anyone for years. I just wanted to be a guitar player, like just like my dad, you know. So yeah, a lot of that does come from him, but it's also just like we're having a lot of fun up there. We truly enjoy being on stage together. So
Oh, yeah,
it's
you can
very
tell.
natural too.
You can totally tell. So, and Paralandra released a new album this year, The Body Electric, which I
Yeah.
must get because I need to, fill some more real estate on my shelves. So we'll talk about where we can get that stuff from. But to people that don't have the album or haven't heard it, what can you tell people?
The Body Electric, I like to think of as like a part two to Street Magic, the album we released in 21. But it's our heaviest work to date because we actually tuned down a half step for this one. So it's got kind of a different, it sits in a different place sonically than anything we've released prior to it. It's got a lot of great anthemic, like sing-along type chorus, heavy riffs, guitar solos. I mean, it's classic Paralandra. High energy hard rock.
And you can get it now. Where can we get it?
You can get it online. Our website, paralandrarocks.com. We have physical copies of the CDs and LPs, which is cool.
Cool.
And then besides that, just like you can stream it pretty much on any platform that's available.
And you did some shows recently, like last week, early mid-December, and then you have some more coming up later in the month. You have a free show as well, correct?
Yes, we've got a free show on, I want to say it's December 28th. It's the Saturday after Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in Grove, Oklahoma at Cherokee Grove Casino. And this place is in the middle of nowhere. Every time we play, it gets packed out. It's crazy. Like last time we were there, they were like, this is even bigger than our record break or our highest record attendance at New Year's Eve. And so it's like, whoa, we got some Paralandra fans out here in Oklahoma in the middle of nowhere. I love that. So I'm really looking forward to that show. And then we've got another show locally. It's our hometown, Springfield, Missouri, on New Year's Eve. So we'll be ringing in the new year with all our closest friends and family. So I'm stoked for that too.
So you got to whip out of Oklahoma like super fast to get home for the next day, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Kind of, sort of, but yeah, sort of. And then you have a date in January with Lynch Mob, correct?
Yeah. So starting, I want to say January 23rd, if I'm correct.
January 24th in Flint.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the first date of the tour.
Yeah.
We're going to be on the road with them from there until like mid-March, whenever they go onto the Monsters of Rock cruise. So, and then a couple dates in there. We're going to be playing with Lita Ford as well.
Yeah,
so those will be fun.
So in Texas, February 13th and February 14th, respectively.
Yeah, and 15th. There's three of them.
Oh, and 15th. Okay, I missed one. Okay, like so there's a
Midland, El Paso, and Abilene.
Okay.
Yeah.
February 13th, 14th, 15th.
I'm really impressed with myself that I just remembered those. I just wanted to give myself some props.
And I want to talk a bit about the L.I.F.E project because or is it L.I.F.E project? What do you prefer?
I say the L.I.F E project. You got it.
L.I.F E project. You just did some tracking recently?
Yes, I did. And I'm going to be going back into the studio to do more tracking second week of January before I head out on tour. So we're going to be releasing 2 EPs next year. And we've been working on these songs for, I want to say like 3 years at this point. We've recorded them. We've demoed them time and time over and over again. And these last mixes that we've been doing absolutely crushed. Like, I am so glad that we waited and really spent the time to let the songs become what they needed to become, and like kept refining and, you know, doing these tiny little tweaks here and there that really make the world of a difference. So yeah, I've got like, I want to say 1, maybe 2 songs left to record for that. And then that'll be out in 2025.
Still kind of spreading them out release-wise by a few months, or fairly back-to-back?
That's what I'm guessing. We're not on a label or anything. We're just going to be releasing this independently. So just depends on like, you know, what the schedule ends up being. And I know that Josh, excuse me, really would love to be able to play some live shows again, but it's kind of been just like working up to that point physically for him to be able to do that and like, you know, not hurt his back basically. So yeah, a lot of very important things to consider there. But yeah, we'll see.
Where can we get L.I.F.E product?
The L.I.F E project stuff is the lifeprojectband.com.
Okay.
You can get physicals there. And then of course, like the other stuff, you can stream it everywhere online.
Okay, very good. Now, you clearly are very busy. It doesn't appear that you need any additional work on your plate, but I have to ask if either has this crossed your mind and or have you actually done so? Skid Row is apparently looking for a vocalist.
Yeah, so I've heard.
Yeah, and I can't help but think that somebody of your caliber and style and your guitar playing as well, if one was interested, would be a stellar fit for such band. That something that has entered your mind at all?
That is just like the craziest thought I could ever imagine. And it is an honor, and also just, I I don't even know what the word is. It's shocking that my name would even be in the hat. Of course, I would love to do it. It's just like, it's like beyond pipe dream. It feels like that's impossible. It's just like such a huge thing, but I would love to.
Well, as a massive Skid Row fan, and I had Rachel on the show a few months back, I could put in a word.
I mean, if you want to, I would not turn it down.
But no, but I'm sure. Like I honestly, after the past few weeks of, catching up on yourself and going, man, that would be awesome. But it's at the same time, I appreciate somebody who's wanting to create on their own with their own band from the ground up. But I also, on maybe a me side, would just like to see that, even if it was a one-time thing. Because I think he would slay in that environment.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Like, I will say, we've done Youth Gone Wild a few times. I do know that one. I remember you. We've done that one too. Actually, I have a funny story about that. We were playing at the Hard Rock Casino a few years ago, and we did a cover of I Remember You, and Suzanne Bach, Sebastian's husband, happened to be there, and she like called us down to her little VIP lounge, and she was like, "That was the best cover I've ever heard of my husband." And anyway, we like exchanged numbers, and we're like still friends. It's kind of just like crazy.
Cool, but awkward, but cool.
Yeah.
So otherwise, so you mentioned 2025 plans as far as 2 L.I.F e project EPs coming out. Anything else happening for 2025 other than those runs of dates, of course, with Lynch Mob, and then a few in there with Lita Ford? Anything else?
Yeah, so Paralandra is still adding dates for the rest of the year. Right now, it's just kind of like, random little dates here and there. So eventually they'll all get connected. I'm sure we're going to be doing all kinds of touring for the entire year next year. But hopefully I'll get to squeeze in some L.I.F e project dates in there, and, like, heaven forbid, maybe do a Cassandra's Crossing show. I would love that.
And have you ever played a show in Canada under any of the monikers? Have you played?
No.
No.
I would love to. I would love to.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. Maybe I need to get my passport renewed or something.
Get on it. Or even Pacific Northwest. Have you done Washington, Oregon dates? Because I definitely drive down for that.
We just played Oregon for the first time earlier this year. We played in Canyonville and what was the other one? It was with Vixen and Lita Ford at Grand Ronde.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then I think we've actually got another Oregon date on the books for later 2025.
Okay.
Anyway, they're just kind of, they're sprinkling in, they're trickling in.
Okay. Keep your eyes peeled for that.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes peeled for maybe a Cassandra's Crossing date or dates at some point. That would be awesome. Be sure to check out the brand new Paralandra album, The Body Electric, that was released earlier this year. And of course, you got to get the Cassandra's Crossing album, Garden of Earthly Delights, which is just bitchin', simply bitchin'. We'll look forward to the new 2 L.I.F e project EPs coming out in 2025. We'll be sure to check out the free show in Oklahoma on December 28th. We'll be sure to check out the home show New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Springfield, was it?
Yep. Man, you got a good memory.
I'm trying to remember. And then we got the run of dates with Lynch Mob going through kind of January up to the Monsters of Rock cruise, including 3 dates with Lita Ford in Texas on February 13th, 14th, and 15th.
Yup. You got it.
Do we pimp it all? Do we get her done?
I think you did it.
Wow.
Very impressed. That was a lot.
Head is spun. Thank you to my guest, Casandra Carson from Cassandra's Crossing, Paralandra, and the L.I.F e project. And thanks for tuning in to Different Stages Radio.
Thank you.